this day. We're always grateful for an opportunity to serve you and our community. We pray today, Lord, that you give us wisdom on how to handle the county's business best. We want to be a blessing to you and to our residents here. We also pray for those folks who are in harm's way in Israel and Iran, as well as Ukraine and Russia. We just ask you to bring a quick resolution to those areas and spare those lives. We ask you to be near to them today. Thank you, Lord, for all you do for us here in Harrison County. We ask for your blessings on all our folks here. We do pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Join me in the pledge to the United States flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Be seated.
Come on.
Our first item this morning is the recognition of Republic Elite's National Pace Setter Award. Guys, if y'all want to come up, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about how it's going.
Great. Thank you, Judge, Commissioners. My name is Dub Taylor. I'm the Chief Operating Officer with Texas Pace Authority. We are the PACE Program Administrator for Harrison County. Just a little bit of background as a recap. You probably haven't thought about this in a year or so, but February of last year, the county took action to set up a PACE financing program that offers long-term financing for energy and water improvements for commercial properties and manufacturing properties across the county. PACE was enabled through state legislation 12 years ago. It's an opt-in situation, so cities and counties determine if this makes sense for their communities, and then they can create the program. So a project that was in discussion back then were some improvements to Republic Elite's cabinet manufacturing facility here in Marshall they were looking to use PACE for part of those part of that upgrade, excuse me. And here we are a year later, and that project was recognized nationally by a group called PACE Nation, which is like essentially the industry trade association for the PACE industry, at its annual conference in New York City last month. So this project received what's called the Pace Setter Award for Innovative Deal of the Year. And so here in Marshall and in Harrison County, great recognition for not only this project, but for the county for creating the program that enabled it to happen. And if you will, I have a case study that I'm going to distribute. I'll give you each a copy of this. Thank you. I'm already there. You're already here. This is just a snapshot of the project itself. And Steve Garwood with the company is here, and I won't step on anything he may say because there's a lot going on there, a lot of improvements that have been made. We're talking earlier about safety enhancements, productivity enhancements, and this project is part of that overall program and plan. So.
Thank you, Deb. I'm Steve Garwood. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for Republic Elite. Marshall is one of the many facilities we have across the U.S. First of all, thank you, Deb, for the introduction, as well as thank you to the entire PACE organization. Thank you as well, Judge Sims, Commissioners Hatfield, Timmons, Coos, and Ebarb. For without your help and approval, there wouldn't be a PACE entity in Harrison County. There wouldn't have been the grant that was provided, nor this award. Also, thank you to Rush and his team at the MADC for all their help and guidance through the process. It's with a great amount of honor and privilege that I accept this award for all of the Republic Elite team. In 2021, we started a project to improve the working conditions and the business performance of the Republic Elite facility here in Marshall. The results were dramatic improvements in safety, quality, delivery, and cost. Safety, a third of what it was. Quality, almost not an issue anymore with our customers. Delivery, we were 35,000 cabinets past due, and now we're capable of doing 1 million cabinets a year. And from a cost perspective, a lot of improvements there. But that resulted also in significant reductions in our energy consumption on a per cabinet basis. So we hope that this award and this grant that was provided provides an example for other manufacturing businesses here and across the United States to improve their working conditions, improve their business performance, and resulting in an improvement in their energy consumption. Thank you.
So we have an actual award that I accepted on behalf of Republic Elite at the meeting, and brought it here today to present here in Harrison County to Steve and to the plan on behalf of his team. So,
Thank you, Doug. Thank you very much.
You guys want to come down and get a picture? This is a significant award. I mean, we kind of did the easy part. All y'all did was bring us the documents here to the board, and you got your financing for these upgrades and increasing your efficiency. I mean, y'all done the hard work, so we'll come down. Rush, didn't see you slip in. Anything you'd like to say? I guess you got to hear all that. Happy to give you a moment to brag on Republic.
No, we love Republic. I mean, they're such a significant contributor to employers, to sales tax even in the city of Marshall. And we love that relationship, want to keep it going. Obviously, this PACE program is a great way to upgrade some existing older facilities too. So we're very happy to promote that, and we thank the court for approving it in Harrison County. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your support there, and certainly I hope we have other industries around that will take advantage of that. It just makes sense to improve your efficiencies. So thank you, guys. Still under announcements, our next announcement is just related to the courthouse closure. It will be closed on June the 19th for the Juneteenth holiday, and also June 20th, that's this Thursday and Friday. We'll have some scheduled maintenance going on here, actually over at the main courthouse, the entrance there, so it'll be closed, and we'll just close all the county offices. But any other announcements we need to be aware of before we move on? If not, we'll go ahead and, I don't think we had any public comments. No. We'll go ahead and begin. We do have a quorum present today. Present and voting, precinct 1 is Commissioner Hatfield, precinct 2, Commissioner Timmons and Sims, presiding precinct 3 is Commissioner Coos, and precinct 4 is Commissioner Ebar. 9:09 a.m. here on the 17th day of June, 2025. We're in the historic courthouse here in Marshall, Texas. Our first item this morning is from our auditor. This is a submission of financial report. Good morning, Ms. Haynes.
Good morning. I normally do those on the first meeting of the month.
Oh, all right, sorry about that. We'll go to item number 1, consideration and approval of regarding line item transfers.
I am requesting transferring $205,363, or is that 83? 53. I apparently need to get new eyeglasses. $205,353.20. If you'll note on midway up, it shows that I am transferring from the main annex in the main jail salary grant line item. Those are your SB 22 expenses, and transferring it to the sheriff's SB 22. What's happened is that I monitor that very closely to ensure we do not have to refund anything. And as we realize that we have surplus for the SB 22 that we can buy safety equipment for the sheriff's department, we go ahead and purchase it. The first time I did a line item transfer, I moved all of it out of the sheriff's department, and I should have moved it from all 3 departments. So I'm trying to make the sheriff's department whole again.
All right. I noticed down there that the transfer out and the transfer in is $100 difference. I'm sure there's a typo there.
There is.
But whichever way that is, you just,
I'll get it corrected and resubmit a corrected line item transfer. My apologies for that.
no trouble. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Ebar, second by Commissioner Coos. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Number 2 is consideration and payment of regular bills.
Requesting payment for $783,455.77. This does include 3 months of enterprise invoices. This is the first time in 3 months that we're actually issuing a check to enterprise. The prior payments or invoices from enterprise, we had a credit balance.
It still shows over 200,000.
Yes, sir.
You'll see a whole lot more of that in the other departments too.
You'll look in primarily the general fund for the sheriff's department and the road and bridge fund for their returns. Those are the 2 departments, of course, that has the most.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hatfield, second by Commissioner Timmons. Any other questions, comments on our expenses? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Number 3 is consideration approval of payroll for June the 6th, 2025.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Timmons, second by Commissioner Ebar. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Next up this morning is a presentation of our FY 23-24 outside audit. It is not by John Manning from Patillo Brown and Hill, but it's from Jacob Bowman.
Yes, yes, that is. Thank you, Jacob.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. My name is Jacob Bowman. I'm an audit supervisor with the county's outside auditing firm, Patillo Brown and Hill. We're out of Waco. Happy to be here in Marshall today. In front of you, I think I set it on the stand there. The annual financial report is in front of you, and I'm happy to present the results of the audit as well as some information in this report. Every year, local governments, including counties, have to receive an outside audit, a financial statement audit, although all the time, all sorts of departments are getting audited, but this one is essentially over this county's books. Before I spoil, what our audit opinion was and everything like that, I want to quickly brief you all on what we do on the audit. At the end of the day, are the county's books accurate? Can they be relied upon by outside users, granting agencies, people issuing bonds and debt, stuff like that? And we come in, do a variety of tests, analytics, confirming balances with outside entities. For example, how much cash do y'all have? Well, we talk directly to the bank to figure out what that is, to confirm it. We do detailed testing at the transactional level, all sorts of procedures to give an opinion on whether these books can be relied on. And I'm happy to say for the fiscal year ended September 30th, 2024, unmodified opinion, once again, clean opinion. It's the best opinion we can give out of the 3 possible. We're not looking at every dollar, though. We, of course, have a scope to the audit. If we look at every dollar, she would probably get a little tired of us after a while, Becky. But happy to say no findings and a clean opinion. In addition to the books being, reliable and accurate, We also look at the risk for financial reporting to be misstated. Well, just because the books are in a good place doesn't mean they always will. Is there an internal control structure in place that results in that? And so we do a variety of internal control testing with approvals. Is payroll done properly? Is the purchasing cycle done with good controls? And happy to say, no issues there. So across the board, clean opinion. The big opinion, of course, is the financial statement opinion. Before I go into some numbers, I guess you could say, I want to briefly mention the single audit, which is for federal and state grants. If any local government expends over $750,000 of federal monies or state monies, the outside auditor will go in and essentially test the biggest grants, and it's more of an in-depth audit on these grants. So towards the back of the report, there's a listing of all the federal grants that the county has spent. And this year, to give you a heads up on what we tested, and this is much more thorough testing than even the financial statement audit, we looked at ARPA once again, as that gets done getting spent. A new grant this year that we looked at was the confinement grant for the juvenile. Big amount of funding there, no issues at all. So those are the two federal grants we tested. This is on page 78. You can look at page 78 shows what we tested. Pages 75 and 76 is essentially a list of all the federal and state funding. And then the state grant we tested, which Becky alluded to a second ago, is the Senate Bill 22, the rural law enforcement grant that so many counties are getting. And for a new grant, kind of just dropped out of the air, no issues. There's a lot to learn with the reporting and all this stuff that Becky had to do on short notice, and then it, had no issues at all with the reporting, and no findings or question costs. So the federal side, state side, good. Financial statement audit, clean. I'll briefly want to highlight some financial ratios, but if there's any questions so far about the audit, let me know the scope of it. I'll flip a few pages back. Look at fund balance in the governmental funds. So on pages 18 and 19, it's the income statement for the governmental funds, which does include the main fund, the general fund. So a year in, and of course this is a few months ago, but on September 30th, the general fund was approaching 18 million of fund balance. So it increased about 750,000 from the prior fiscal year. And you look at all the other governmental funds, you got the road and bridge funds, with the precincts, airport maintenance, and there's a lot of other governmental funds related to the various county offices. Overall, generally speaking, the county had an increase in fund balance basically across the board, especially with the general fund. And to be honest, these days, it's getting less common to see, increases to fund balance rather than coming in the red at year end. It's because of how things are. So that's good to see that there's, positive fund balance. And in addition to that, we could take a look at the budget, which is just a few pages over on pages 21 and 22. This is just the general fund budget. Kind of shows where the county spending was during the year compared to the estimates. And like so many local governments these days, going into that fiscal year, they were projecting, a deficit, saying we're going to have to spend fund balance down. There's no way around it. Well, look what happened in the general fund for this fiscal year. Like I said a second ago, y'all had a net income of around $750,000, which is great. And in addition to that, all of the functions and all the departments came in under budget here. If you look there at the middle of page 22 in terms of expenditures. And then still, as it continues, where property taxes are the main source of income for the county, as well as some investment earnings, some grant funding, stuff like that. And those revenue projections were rather close as well. So look at terms of reserves. This is kind of, I guess, the last piece I'll mention. At year end, kind of thinking, okay, at September 30th, how much reserves did we have? And I like to kind of portray it as how much unassigned, unrestricted money was in the general fund at year end. So on page 15, there's about $12.5 million unassigned in general fund. That's essentially money that a county can do what they need to do with. It's not already wrapped up in some other funding. So thinking about that 12.5 of unassigned in terms of a year's worth of expenditures is about 39% of a year. So, GFOA, other bodies that recommend these things with fund balance, say at least 25% threshold is good, up to 50. So y'all are right in the middle of what they're wanting. So that's perfect. 39%. It's in a good place, especially these days where, kind of like I was saying a second ago, that's becoming less common. People are tending to dip below, having a quarter's worth of reserves. That's kind of the high notes I want to mention. Just for further reading, you can always refer to the management's discussion and analysis on page 4 through 10 or through 12, kind of an executive summary of the year. This a lot of helpful information in this report. I'm not going to, of course, go over all of it. I do want to mention that our firm helps draft the report with Becky's help, but at the end of the day, it's the county's numbers that we are opining on. I suppose that kind of covers the audit, and I want to particularly thank Becky and her staff and her team. Tons of work goes into an audit. I think sometimes, we have to do so much. No, they have to do so much. So them doing their regular job plus all of our request items is a big ask. So every year, they've been a big help and a pleasure to work with, so I appreciate it. And everyone in the county that we've worked with has been very helpful, forthcoming, so we appreciate that as well, and for your time this morning. So I want to open it up to any questions that y'all might have on the audit or what we did, what we didn't do. Happy to answer that for y'all.
I guess as you look at our procedures and all, is there anything that you, I realize you said we're compliant with everything properly, but maybe are there other best practices that you see other counties do that might help us or make it easier on our folks?
There's always, everywhere you go, even the most perfect place, there's room for potential improvement anywhere. And to me, in my experience, it always comes down to having, and this is not a problem at all for the county, but it can always be improved everywhere, is always have separation of duties, and every single time anything is changing hands or being spent or approved, have 2 or 3 people look at it and show something on it that they looked at it. I know that's kind of basic, but for all of the different processes, whether it's payroll or purchasing, hiring people, all of the problems we've seen over time in places that do have findings is, they don't have those approvals, or who did that, or that wasn't approved, or that was just a kind of under the table thing. So as much formal approvals, signatures, things like that is helpful to us auditors, because it means multiple eyes have looked on this thing. When multiple eyes of different people have looked at it, it sharply decreases the risk of misstatement, fraud, stuff like that. So I know it's kind of maybe a simple answer, but that's what I would encourage for all departments. Track record of everything, but they already do a pretty good job at that as well from our experience. We don't look at everything, of course, but that's what I would recommend to most people, most governments. Any other questions y'all might have for me this morning? All right, well, thank you for the time.
Very much, we appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Certainly, a special thanks to you, Becky, and your department. Thank you all. You're already busy and add this on top, and it's a lot of work. Thank you. Next up is from our Road and Bridge Department, our Administrative Coordinator, Mr. Davis.
Good morning, Your Honor, Commissioners, how y'all doing? We're in the process of soil cementing on East Country Club Road, and we had moved our crew on the east side over to Owen George, which half of it's in Precinct 1 and half's in Precinct 2. Of course, all this weather we've had has sort of slowed this way down. Some areas got 8+ inches of rain. At one time, we had 50+ roads closed due to flooding. So we had crews out around the clock till we got through it. So now we're going back and fixing all the washouts and patching stuff up, picking up trees, along with doing our construction. So we'll get it all back patched up and passable. Just bear with us.
I had a couple of questions for you on our mowing. I know it's probably been wet in our right of ways, but they had started mowing a few weeks ago. I'm sure that slowed them down some.
Yes, sir. I spoke with them yesterday, and they're going to give it a couple of days of drying before they commit to getting back on our right-of-ways. That way it don't rut everything up and tear their equipment up too, you know. It's just,
Looks like we've got a few dry days coming.
I hope so.
Along the same lines, how about the road boring up with the, thinking about Spectrum, fiber optic?
Yeah, we're getting a lot of calls on them. So we just take care of it on a case-by-case basis, you know. So we're all working together. So it's a lot of extra work, but we're getting there.
Growing pain, good growing pain.
That's
I know
right.
I heard the sheriff say they were having some issues out there with.
Right. There's been quite a few calls come to our office too, you know, but most people are understandable, you know.
It's going okay. Our right of ways are holding up all right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We did start shutting them down on rainy days and when it's way too wet to work, you know, just to keep the residents happy and they don't drag mud and stuff on the road.
Very good. Any other questions for Mr. Davis on his administrative report? If not, we'll move on to item number 1, consideration approval of personnel changes for Harrison County Road and Bridge.
We've hired 6 new temporary summer helpers, and we still have 6 full-time slots open.
Is there a motion to approve?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Timmons, second by Commissioner Hatfield. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Item number 2 is consideration of action regarding the approval of utility applications submitted to Harrison County Road and Bridge Department as attached for Spectrum Gulf Coast, Board Arc Midstream, Centerport Energy, and Gum Springs Water.
Yes, sir. There's 49 requests for fiber optic. We have 1 oil and gas water line. We have a residential gas line and 2 residential water lines for Gum Springs. All these apps have been reviewed and they do meet our standards that's specified in our utilities application.
Very good. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hatfield, second by Commissioner Ebar. Any questions or comments on our utility applications? Doesn't look like we're slowing down much on those,
No, they're not. Like I say, I think the rains held them up quite a bit too. So these drier days, I'm sure they're gonna get back into full swing.
all right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Sir. Next up, from the sheriff's office, we've got administrative report on here. Do you have that? You want-
Nope.
that's the first-
No, sir, I don't. I can bring you up to speed on a couple of items, though. As Luke brought to your attention, we've got our fiber optics going in all over the county, and we've gotten a lot of calls on that. I wish folks would have a little patience, but we've had issues where had a citizen that went out the other day and stabbed a knife in the tires of the workers' trucks just because he really just didn't like them being around there. He really didn't have a legitimate complaint. So they're getting a lot of calls, we're getting a lot of calls, and trying to keep everybody off their backs and let them get their job done, but they are hustling. The arrest rate this past 2 weeks was about normal. It was a little bit over 600, but that does not include this past weekend. I'm sure y'all are all aware of the mud races at Caddo Lake. That was quite an ordeal. Parks and Wildlife called in an additional 15 park rangers, 15 extra game wardens. I'm not sure how many DPS officers were brought in, and our guys spent most of the weekend down and around the lake from Friday afternoon to Sunday afternoon. There were 11 BWIs, which is the same thing as DWI except in a boat, 15 PIs, public intoxications. There was over 100 citations written. Several other arrests for guys that were fighting. Y'all may have seen the video of that. There was guys fighting, literally fighting from boat to boat. I particularly bring that up because I wish we need, I think, as a county to look at something that can be done, because these people are coming here from elsewhere. 90% of these folks are coming here from out of town. What they like to do, they like to get down there in Bradley Canal and hole up in there where they can hide and lay out and do their ill doings. And I don't know, I'm not sure if there's not something we could do similar to what we did with the trail rides. I know that's private property, and where this is a public waterway. But I think it would do us well to see if we can't look into some way of providing some kind of protection for Caddo Lake, see if we can't get something done to kind of control these things. But anyway, I just want to touch on those items for you. If you got any other questions, I'll try to answer them best I can.
No, sir, but thank you for that, and I think it's a great idea to look into how we can maybe organize that a little better, rather than just everybody showing up. If there was some way that
I think there's got to be a way to permit that and say, hey, for every 10 boats, you got to hire security officers, sort of like we did on the trail ride deal, making it just so difficult that they just don't want to do it. But Caddo Lake is the only natural lake that we've got in Texas. Every other lake that we've got is man-made. So it deserves a little special attention if we can find a way to do it.
Is it organized by somebody local, or is it somebody organizing it from?
I'm not sure how it's getting organized. We can look into that and find out how that one got started. But like I say, these people coming here from out of state, Dallas, Texarkana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, you name it, they're coming from everywhere. But they like to come down here, tear up our stuff, and then go home. So.
It sounds like y'all put a little dent in it, though.
A little bit, a little dent.
It's been a couple of years ago when we had that presentation about the noise with all these.
Same kind of thing, yeah.
more residents just have to endure that for the weekend.
Yeah,
I guess they can sleep on Monday.
yeah.
Why would this be any different with a gathering that undoubtedly sounds like thousands of people show up? I mean, what's the difference, if we put policy in place on trail rides and mass gatherings, I mean, I don't see where there's a lot of difference between whether it's a gathering on land or on water. My only question is the state needs to be involved in whatever we do instead of at the local level.
And
I
that's-
would think that they're the ones that need to step in and put something with some teeth in it.
Yeah, the one big difference that we're looking at is what we've done with the trail rides. That's all on private property, whereas this is a public waterway, so we agree. I think we're gonna have to get the state or somebody involved, but I think there's gotta be a way to put some kind of regulation in place.
I know we have people on land that's looking at these sites and things like that, but we don't have anybody actually on the water. And maybe that's something that we can reach out to the state about, helping us actually putting a boat patrol in the water.
Yes, sir.
Just a thought.
You bet.
I know we've got, Weston was probably down there all weekend on patrol.
Yeah.
Locally, but what I heard was there was a bunch of extra game wardens and different park rangers and stuff that come in. Were they all out? I assume game wardens were probably out on the water in their boats and all.
Well, thank you for that update, Wyatt. You might just visit with the sheriff and see if we can do some checking, if there's other regulations or something that we could impose or enforce. It sure would make sense.
Yes, sir.
Probably need to let Mr. Bob Cole get involved in this with us too, on that, find out where we're at on it.
In our DA's office, that's what I was.
It's the Bob work. We'll just see how far we can push it.
Yep. questions before we move on? Item number 1 is consideration of approval to amend the Texas State University agreement dated October 22nd, 2024 between Harrison County and Texas State University for the 125 buys or stings to 225 buys stings at a rate of $125 per buy sting. This is the tobacco
Yes, sir.
enforcement.
Yes.
So each year it seems like they come up with some more money that they have to increase the number of stings that we can perform. And so it looks like they've done it again this year, which doesn't do anything but help us control or selling to minors, underage.
Yes, sir, because it's not slowing down.
Yeah. Very good. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hatfield, second by Commissioner Ebarb. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Number 2 is consideration of approval for the submission of the application to the U.S. Department of Justice for the COPS grant. Grant number is COPS-2025-172379, entitled School Violence Prevention Program. The program is a 75-25 split. The total project cost is $150,000. The Harrison County share would be $37,500, with set amount to be included in the 25-26 budget. Also, some assistance from the DA's office may be available. Lieutenant Mays, you want to give us a little overview of?
Yes, sir. I don't know if y'all had a chance to look at the link that I sent to y'all, but there was just such an abundance of information about this system that it was too much to just print out. But I'm sure you're all aware of the latest surveying equipment. It's all laser operated basically now. This is a 3D laser camera system that uses basically the same technology, but it adds in GPS, and it also adds 3D imaging, which gives us the ability to literally recreate a crime scene, a severe traffic accident. And the reason this has become available in COPS, because COPS grants are typically what I call people grants. They're typically community policing officers, crime victims, assistance coordinators. They're usually for personnel. But occasionally you'll see one where they provide some equipment. And the idea behind this is to give our first responders the ability to go in and map schools and other highly sensitive targets, anywhere where you have mass gatherings on a regular basis, courthouses, such as that, which that way they can provide a 3D image where first responders can look at that whenever they have a problem and be able to devise a plan before they ever walk in. Everybody at least has kind of an idea of what they're going to see when they go in. We got yesterday late, we got a specific quote. It's a little less than what we had guessed, so it was to our favor. The total package is $145,849.82, which would reduce our 25% to $36,462.46. We've been looking, I have for several years, trying to find a grant that would pay for one of these. And luckily, Detectives Hargrove and Wallace, while attending another school, found another agency that had gotten one of these through this grant. So they brought that information home. We looked into it, and this is, in my estimation, probably one of the 3 best investigative tools come along in a long time. The others being the flock cameras, which we're already looking at, and also the DNA stuff, which we don't have yet. But these are highly effective tools, time savers, and extremely accurate.
So you mentioned going ahead and kind of doing some prevention analysis up front for schools and public buildings.
Exactly.
Churches included in that?
Anything that you can think of, we can do it. And that would also be a good a good one to put on the list.
You guys have any questions for Lieutenant Mays?
Is this a grant that's set aside so much per county, or is it just whoever they approve, it applies? Because I noticed in some of that, it talked about who was eligible to apply, for these grants. So if one of these school districts in Harrison County were to apply, does it take away from the sheriff's department?
No, no.
I don't know, I mean, I don't know what all a school district would get, listening to what you said y'all were applying for. I just, some of these are specific numbers or amounts per county, and I just wondered, you know, if 2 or 3 of the school districts in the county were to apply, would it take away from?
I don't think it would.
Any other questions? Not, is there a motion to approve?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Ebarb, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None, motion passes 5-0. Number 3 is consideration and action regarding the approval to rescind order number 2025-87 dated March 25th, 2025 for quote number 8721783 and quote number 8721768. This was for two 2024 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicles that were replacement vehicles for the Sheriff's Department, as they did not have rear air conditioning. Is there a motion to approve canceling those orders?
Motion.
I have a motion by Commissioner Timmons, is there a second by Commissioner Coos? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. And we have these kind of things pop up from time to time where we miss something, and I know
Yes, sir.
Lieutenant Poindexter stays on top of that, but sometimes these things slip by, and I know he'll be
Yes, sir. Yep.
looking for this one in the future. He's gonna make sure we're not getting hybrid vehicles, he's gonna make sure we got rear air conditioning. So,
Yep.
Well, these used for K-9,
Yeah, that's the intent on these, is for the K-9s.
so I could see why you would look for rear air.
Yes, sir.
So the next, item is gonna be the replacement for those we just rescinded. Item number 4 is consideration and action to approve the purchase of Enterprise Fleet Management quote number 8939839 for a 2025 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicle. It's a replacement for unit 27W8HT and quote number 8945596, which is another 2025 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicle, replacing unit number 23TXG3 for Harrison County Sheriff's Department. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Ebarb, second by Commissioner Timmons. Any questions or comments?
Let me ask you a question. I noticed prior to this, we just passed, or just voted on this, they were 24, and these are saying 25s. At one point, there was something about our equipment would fit if we ordered a specific before the end of the year, or is these the same as those in, or these?
I don't know, but I'll ask that, I'll get Hilton to call you on that.
Because he did on something, or a couple of vehicles just a month or so ago.
Right.
He went ahead and ordered, and we released them early because the equipment
Correct,
fit
yeah.
that year model.
The only extra, I can answer that, the only extra thing we had to get was a push bumper, and the lights were different. So it's not the cage, it's not all that still
All
stays
that's
the
gonna
same.
still-
Okay.
The bumper and the lights were those there. So it raised our total monthly bill by about $90.
I think he was ordering the 25s while he could before the 26s
Is
were
that
some production, but the 26s were gonna change.
Change it, okay.
If we waited, we would have to get the 26s and then run the risk of having it all over.
So the 25s still match our equipment as the 26 models.
Okay.
They stopped
Okay.
production and started back, and he needed to order it before that.
Very good.
Lieutenant Poindexter and Purchasing Department both stay on top of that. They try to utilize that equipment where we don't have to spend that money on that.
Good questions. Any other questions on item number 4? Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And our motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Next up, our county clerk. Item number 1 is consideration approval of transcribed minutes of the Commissioners Court meeting on June the 3rd, 2025. You guys have had a chance to review and make comments and adjustments and corrections. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coos, second by Commissioner Timmons. Any other comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Next up's our treasurer. This is item number 1.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners.
This is consideration and approval of the renewal of the resolution of the annual review and adoption of the investment policy in Harrison County, Texas pursuant to section 2256.005 of the Texas Government Code.
There were no changes in this year's, same as last year, just up for the annual renewal.
So we just have to review it each year, but we don't have to change anything.
Correct.
So this is the same as last year. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ebar, second by Commissioner Coos. Any questions or comments on renewing our annual review or our investment policy? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next up, for purchasing, good morning, Ms. Haynes.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Item number 1 is consideration and approval to have the attached list of items declared as surplus and be destroyed.
Yes, sir, these are a lot of the old computers and things that we get the company to come pick them up, and then they take them and make sure it's all clean, and they destroy the electronics. That's what this is. And some of them have probably gone through court before, but we couldn't find all the documentation, so we'd rather be safe than sorry, so.
Very good. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Timmons, second by Commissioner Ebar. I appreciate you getting these things cleaned up. I know
Yes, sir.
they can
Well-
start stacking up around our ears.
Yes, Sarah back there has been working very, very hard so, to help with this.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Number 2, similar consideration and approval to declare the attached list of multiple units as surplus.
These are the auction list items. We need them declared surplus before we can list them for auction.
Very good. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Timmons, second by Commissioner Hatfield. Any questions or comments on these items that will be,
Let me ask a question. I noticed there's some vests, bulletproof vests.
He's on the previous one there.
Are you on the previous one? On
Is
the,
that for our list?
Yep.
yeah, there's,
Well, I'll ask you later then.
okay.
I thought we were on the second.
This one,
The ballistic vests were on that first that are supposed to be destroyed. And I saw those ballistic vests. I thought, well, maybe somebody else could use them, but if they're out of date, you wouldn't want to
they,
use them.
I thought the same thing, but they said after 5
We don't have
years,
any liability if somebody buys it that we're getting rid of?
Well, these are to be
these would be
destroyed.
destroyed.
Oh, okay,
Because that,
okay.
from what I understand, they're only good for 5 years. And after 5 years, they have to be replaced. And I don't really, because some of them look like they're brand new, but if they're not, I don't know if it's the fibers, I don't have any idea why.
I don't think I'd want to wear one.
So,
All right, so we're back on item number 2. That was the approval to declare the attached list of multiple units as surplus. These are all trucks and trailers that need to be sold. Is there we have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments about this list? Not all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, our motion passes 5-0. Number 3 is consideration of approval to enter into an agreement between Harrison County and Renee Bates Auctioneers to conduct online auctions of surplus items, and they'll charge and retain a 10% buyer's premium in lieu of commission on items sold, with auctions to be conducted on an as-needed basis. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Hatfield, second by Commissioner Timmons. You've used Renee Bates before, and you've been happy with them.
we have, yes, sir. As far as I know, everybody's been very happy, and like I said, they don't charge us, they charge the person purchasing, and they get the 10%, and then we just handle give them the paperwork, and then we're out of it.
All right. Very good. We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next up, under new business, item number 1 is consideration of approval of the Economic Development Incentive. It's a 381 agreement between Harrison County, Texas, and the Rocky Mountain Energy Development LLC, an affiliate of Peregrine Energy Solutions LLC, for the said company to purchase approximately 42.624 acre parcel for the construction and operation of electric energy storage facility located at or near the northeast corner of the intersection of Texas Highway 3251 and 5 Cutoff. You guys have had a chance to review this 381 agreement. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second, we have a motion by Commissioner Ebar, a second by Commissioner Timmons. Any questions or comments? And I'd just like to just say a few things about this. You know, Peregrine is very capable and able to come in here and build this facility without even consulting us. Because they did ask, and they asked for an abatement here. It's a 50% abatement over 10 years. It allows us to have some input into their, how they're built, their plan, how they build it, the facilities, and what they're doing over the next, the life cycle of this project. And so it made sense to me, for us to have some input there. Certainly I took a look at the property valuations there and what the current, it's about 33 acres, the largest parcel I saw. They're paying about $80 a year in all property taxes. With this new equipment and investment, the school district's gonna get a huge boost to over $3 million, almost $4 million per year. The ESD is gonna get a big shot in the arm, about $400,000 per year. County's part will be about $700,000, so it's a huge boost in our property tax revenue compared to what we were getting. And as we work through this, they just went over and above ensuring a safe operation, which I appreciated. We're happy to have partners like that. So those are my comments. We have a motion and a second. You guys
Let me ask one more for you.
Yes, sir.
On the capital investment, I know we discussed this several times. I thought there was a minimum that was higher than what's written on this agreement.
It's 325 was the
I
minimum.
thought it was 360.
I thought it was 325.
I slept, okay.
But we're hopeful that you do the whole 400 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
So we have three commissioners and the judge in favor. Commissioner Hatfield is opposed. Motion carries. 4-1.
Who made the motion?
Commissioner Ebar.
And
Commissioner
Timmons
Timmons.
seconded. Thank you.
I thought he made
Item number 2 is consideration and approval of the facility use agreement between Harrison County and the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Texas to extend the period of use of the historic courthouse courtroom facilities through May 31st, 2026, based upon the usage agreement in the original agreement signed May 31, 2023. This is a simple agreement we have with the federal courthouse across the street to come use our courtroom and facilities whenever they're overbooked. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Hatfield, second by Commissioner Timmons. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None, motion passes 5-0. Number 3, consideration and action regarding the approval of the submission to the Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts of the request form for unclaimed property capital credits for Harrison County. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Ebar, second by Commissioner Coos. Any questions or comments? You guys know unclaimed capital credits are those, the fees that you pay to usually the electric co-op or the telephone co-ops, that are supposed to be returned at some point, and if they can't find the person to return it to, they give a portion of that to the county and send the rest, I think, to the state as unclaimed property. Is that about right? We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 5-0. Number 4, consideration and approval of the 24-25 annual contract and authorization of payment in the amount allotted in the FY 24-25 budget for the East Texas CASA. That is $2,000 is that amount for East Texas CASA. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hatfield, second by Commissioner Timmons. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None, motion passes 5-0. Number 5, consideration approval of authorizing the resolution requesting the sheriff to resell tax properties previously bid in trust.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Annually, we have a tax resale in December where we offer properties that have been previously offered but did not receive the required minimum bid. There were a number of properties in Lake Deerwood that were bid in trust back in December of last year. We have had several people reach out and indicate their desire to purchase these. And so rather than waiting until December of this year for the resale, where we have interested buyers, we're asking for your approval to authorize the resale of these. They would be in August, at the August online tax sale. It's specific to these 15 pieces of property, and it will not replace our normal December resale. We still will have that, but these are just to go ahead and get these back on the tax roll since we know we have interested buyers.
Sooner the better. That sounds good. These are all Deerwood. That's a number of 15 lots there.
And there's actually quite a few more in Deerwood that are bid in trust. When we talk about the report next, I can kind of point out to you where they were. We took a different approach to working some properties in Deerwood to try and generate a little bit more interest. And unfortunately, it was not as successful as what we had hoped for.
Very good. Is there a motion to approve this resolution requesting the sheriff to resell these properties that are previously bid in trust?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Coos, second by Commissioner Ebar. Any questions or comments?
These properties that were bid in trust, and when they put them back, there's no guarantee that they're even gonna bring what the taxes are owed.
In most cases, they won't. These are the ones that when we had the sale on the courthouse steps, we would end up dropping the minimum bid to $30, which is what it cost to record the deed to the property at the time. Because of the way we worked these Lake Deerwood suits, what we did was we filed one suit for every unit, like Unit E, Block D. Everything that was delinquent in that block and unit was in the same suit. And so we did that. I think we had 13 or 14 different suits that we did that way. So hopefully we could get people to buy more than one lot so that they would actually be able to use them. But there is no guarantee that they're going to sell.
When these are bought and go back on the tax roll, at what price, what they paid for it at the tax sale, or what the appraisal district puts the value?
They'll go back on it at market value, which will be set based on the appraisal district. Mm-hmm. Now, one thing that we did do, because we put so many lots in the same suit, we were able to keep the costs down. So the minimum bids were actually lower than what they would have been if we would file suit on every owner in that unit. So we did try to make them more attractive that way, but we still didn't sell them. I mean, we had some where the minimum bids were $300 and they didn't sell. So.
Hopefully you put together this larger group. I mean, somebody might grab their interest. They could acquire a lot of properties out there and really kind of change the look of the place. So.
I know that I've heard, I haven't personally been out there to see it, but I have heard that there is a lot of activity out there. They've put up a new sign at the entrance, and we have had a lot more contact from people about the Deerwood properties, which is why we're offering these specific ones now. But that's kind of been our goal, to try and help make a difference and improve that area.
Do you have a map where these are located?
I don't have it with me, but I can get it to you.
You see, maybe?
Yeah. Mhm. Some of these that are going to be bid and trust in Deerwood are going to be where the roads are not
They're not county roads.
right, and they're not necessarily drivable, is my understanding.
Is this the interest of one team or one person buyer?
It was several people on different ones. Some of them were adjoining property owners, and then some of them were just random people that reached out to us.
I'd like to have a copy of that map, and I'll forward it to Luke and Lisa out there, because we have ever since I've been sitting here, we've had tons of problems on the south side of the dam, which is, I mean, it's never been county roads. People can't even go in and out of it. If somebody new buys these lots, I want them to know where they're at, so we've got, when they start calling, we know exactly where they're at. Oh, I know. All of them. So when I get it, I'll forward it out to y'all, and show them where they're at.
We got a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion passes 5-0. Number 6, discussion and receipt of the delinquent tax collection report from McCreary, Wesselka, Bragg, and Allen, PC attorneys at law.
So this is our annual report that we give to you about everything that we've done in the last few years to collect your delinquent property taxes. We're going to start on page 3. I believe you have an electronic copy, but I also brought paper copies as well. For tax year 2023, you collected 100.07% of your adjusted levy. The way that we get to, Commissioner Coos, to help you understand how we get over 100%, you've got your current taxes that you levied for the year, plus your delinquent taxes that were collected from previous years, as well as any penalty and interest. So when you combine the three and compare it to just your specific 2023 tax year, that's how you can collect more than 100%. So in tax year 2023, you collected 100.07% of your adjusted levy for tax year 2023. For tax year 2022, you were at 101.26% of your adjusted levy. Tax year 2021, 100.9% of your adjusted levy, and tax year 2020, 101.03% of your adjusted levy. We always use adjusted levy again because that's actual dollars that can come into the county coffers. You're going to have adjustments for late filed homestead exemptions and ag exemptions and other things where things are taken off the roll. And so we don't give you the original levy because that's not an accurate representation of what could actually come into the county.
I have a question that, and you represent school districts as well. Do they also see similar over 100%
Yes.
collection rates?
Mm-hmm.
Just curious. Thanks.
And I give a report to some of them annually. I give a report to the appraisal district as well. Not all of the school districts want an actual report, but I do provide the same information to them so that they can see that. I was at Elysian Fields earlier this year and presented one, and am super excited to go back next year because their numbers and just the county's numbers in general have gone up pretty significantly since we took over Elysian Fields. Moving on to page 4, this shows you your cumulative tax collections by tax year as of April the 30th. So of the taxes that you levied for tax year 2023, at the end of April, 97.71% of what you levied for the year has been collected. Your 2022 taxes, 98.88% of what you levied has been collected. Your 2021 taxes, 99% of what you levied for tax year 2021 had been collected as of the end of April. And tax year 2020, 99.26% of what you levied for the year has been collected. To give you a little bit of perspective, your adjusted tax levy for tax year 2020 was $24,374,732. At the end of April, there was only $179,302 left that had been collected for tax year 2020. Page 5 deals specifically with your delinquent tax collections. Your delinquent taxes turn over to us on July the 1st of every year. So in a couple of weeks, your 2024 delinquent taxes are going to turn over to us. Your 2023 taxes, we've had 10 months of collection activity. 55.73% of what you turned over to us has been collected. Your 2022 taxes, with 22 months of collection activity, 73.71% of what you turned over to us has been collected. Your 2021 taxes, we've had 34 months to work on those. 75.72% of what you've turned over to us has been collected. And your 2020 taxes, with 46 months of collection activity, 80.99% of what you turned over to us has been collected as of the end of April. Does anybody have any questions over pages 4 or 5?
I assume that a lot of these properties that get sold, are properties that are in this range that just you hadn't collected, so y'all taking them in trust to bid them out, sell them?
There's going to be some, but that's not going to be
A set number of years that they can get behind before they.
We start from the person who owes the most and work our way down to the person who, owes the least. Of course, every year that's going to change. Every July 1st, that's going to change because you're going to turn over new taxes to us. And so we start again July 1st and work back through that list. That's not to say that we don't ever work the ones that are on the bottom of the list. Anytime somebody reaches out to us and says, hey, I'm interested in buying this lot, it doesn't matter how much is owed on it, we can file a suit on those. We work special projects like for the city, for problem areas, for the city of Marshall, or any other place that reaches out to us and says, we're trying to clean up or revitalize or do something like that. We work those, but we do start from the top and work our way down. So where you have a lower value piece of property, it's never going to reach the top, but we do still work those. We just have to get you guys the most bang for your buck, which means start at the top and work our way down. Pages 6, 7, and 8 break down the prior 4 years into specific categories. I'm not going to talk specifically about those pages. Those are just snapshots of each of those years, but it breaks it down into what's been collected, what is currently under a suit or a judgment, what's involved in a bankruptcy, what's covered by a tax deferral, uncollectible accounts and unknown addresses, research in progress, and then on these pages, there's not a category for assessment issue, but there is on the next page that we're going to talk about, and I'll explain that a little bit more. But 6 through 9 are specific to each of the prior 4 tax years and breaks it down into those 4 categories. On page 9, this gives you a snapshot of your entire outstanding delinquent tax balance. This is as of May the 16th of 2025. The total outstanding was just over $2.2 million. And it breaks it down into those same categories that I just talked about. Suits and judgments, tax deferrals, things like that. So as of May the 16th, 15.3% of your delinquent tax roll is covered by either a pending suit or has been reduced to judgment and is waiting for tax sale. 17.21% of your tax roll is covered by tax deferral. That number does continue to rise every year, although with the reductions for homestead exemptions and things like that, making school taxes less of an impact for some taxpayers. I am hopeful that people will be able to start paying more towards their county deferrals, since some of them have less and even no school taxes that they're paying, but that number does continue to rise. There's a very small portion of delinquent taxes owed that are covered under appraisal district litigation. They're not technically delinquent because they're currently involved in a suit where someone has sued the appraisal district over the valuation, but they appear in this $2.2 million number until those suits are resolved. It's not very much. Again, it's about $48,000. You'll notice the very last category, I've assigned it the name of mineral issue. It's $133,000. It's about 6% of your total outstanding. We've been working very closely with the appraisal district to hold the oil and gas operators a little bit more accountable for the records that they're providing to the appraisal district. A lot of wells, when they're first going online, they send the working interest value to the mineral appraisal firm, and then they're failing to follow through with sending the division orders or any of the specific breakdowns on the royalty interests to the mineral appraisal firm when the wells first go online. And without that information, the appraisal district can't put an account on the tax roll to the individual royalty interest owner because they simply don't know who the owner is. And so in the past, the appraisal districts have always put kind of a placeholder account on the roll. It would be like Rockcliffe Energy Unknown, or TGNR Suspense, or Sabine Oil and Gas Unleased. And so there's not an actual notice of appraised value that's going out. There's no one person that owns that entire royalty interest. And so until the appraisal firm and the appraisal district get that itemized information from the operator, they can't break it down into individuals. And so the appraisal district has made some changes in the way that they're handling that going forward. They are also in the process of going backwards. I think they're going back as far as 2021, where that information wasn't provided by the operator, and getting that information and then supplementing those records back on. So right now, there's about $133,000 that appears to be delinquent, but there's not anything that we can do to file a suit on it because it was never actually assessed to the individual property owner. On the bottom of page 9, it's also, again, a snapshot, but it breaks it down by year, so you can see the distribution of that $2.2 million that's outstanding to the county. If you'll notice there, a little over 56% of the entire amount that's outstanding to the county is going to be for tax years 21, 22, and 23, and the majority of those will be collected over the next few years. Does anybody have any questions there?
Is there anything that we can do to encourage the oil and gas companies to disclose those division orders to help speed that process? Do any other counties have better look at it, or is it kind of the same problem?
It's the same problem everywhere. One of the things that the appraisal district is doing differently, it's my understanding for this year, is that they're going to put those royalty interest accounts on the tax roll in the name of the oil company and make the oil company protest ownership and try to address the problem that way. Because the oil and gas companies are going to say, wait a minute, we don't own the royalty interests. Okay, well then tell us who does. And if you can tell us who does, then we can put it on the roll in their name. And if you don't tell us who does, then we have to assume that you all own it. Yeah, so they are definitely taking a more aggressive and proactive approach to getting that information from the oil and gas operators than they have in the past.
Well, let me ask you a question, because I've been through this just in the last year or so. The local doesn't set values on minerals. Pritchett and Abbott does, is what I was told. And when you call them, they blame the owners or of the well, because they're supposed to produce the yearly production numbers to Pritchett and Abbott, who then turns and sets our values for our local CAD. So are we just now starting? I don't understand why they've waited all these years and couldn't tax a well when they didn't just turn around, because whoever drilled it and owned it, whether it's Sabine Oil or Rose City or whoever it is, somebody's getting 80% of it, and that's the owner. The locals maybe are getting 20 or 25%. So, I mean,
It's the local portion that has not been, in a lot of instances, that has been sent through. The working interest accounts are being sent through, and those are being paid. It's the local portion that they're not getting the information for. The best source of the records for the local information is obviously going to be the division order from the oil company, because they know who they're paying on a monthly basis. And you could spend hours and hours at the courthouse scouring records, and you're still not going to have all of the information that the oil company has, because there's a lot of stuff that they're getting that is not necessarily being recorded. And so you could hire people, a landman to go down there, but you're still not going to have as accurate a records as what the oil company has for who they're paying.
So could we as a county or our local just assume that if they don't want to produce it, then you just pay 100% of the value of the, and that's what?
And that's the approach that they're starting to take. I have gotten a significant amount of cooperation out of the new staff at the appraisal district in making some things like that happen. So moving on to page 11, this kind of tells you how we do what we do. This activity report is from January 1 of 23 through April the 30th of 25. We've filed 750 suits against 1,941 properties. When I say properties, that's going to be property accounts. It's going to be real property accounts, personal property accounts, and mineral property accounts. We have filed tax warrants, 169 of those, on 1,452 property accounts. A lot of those tax warrants are the royalty interest tax warrants that we've talked about in the past, where the operator is served with an order to redirect royalty payments to us to satisfy the debt. And then once that debt is paid off, then the funds are released again to the property owner. We've taken judgments in 538 cases involving 1,345 properties. And we've posted for tax sale 1,132 first-time properties. By first-time properties, I mean properties that are going up for the first time. They are offered for the total amount of taxes that are owed plus the costs or the value of the property, whichever is less. And those are the ones that we cannot take anything less than that state-mandated minimum bid for at the tax sale. So 1,132 in the last 2.25 years. 72 properties we've posted for resale, and all 72 properties have been resold. Talking about the Lake Deerwood properties, a number of those properties went up for sale in December of 2024. That's traditionally been just a resale month in December, but we had so many properties that we had gotten judgments on, especially in Lake Deerwood, that we did post all of those for sale, which is why that December number is so large. You'll see we posted 184 properties for sale in December, including the 39 resales, and 78 of the properties were bid and trust, and the majority of those bid and trust properties were Lake Deerwood lots.
How long have we been doing the online auction?
We started that with our first sale in 2024, and it has been remarkably successful. I don't know if you all saw the email that I sent over the weekend about the most recent tax sale that we had. We had no properties bid and trust. I started here in June of 2008, and we have never had a situation where every property that we offered for sale was either pulled for payment or a deferral or something like that, or it sold. Nothing was bid and trust. So I think that we're headed in the right direction. And I think you're going to see that in a couple of areas. It's going to reflect in your total collections, but it's also going to reflect in the amount of excess proceeds that come to the county. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. But does anybody have any questions about our collection activity in the last 2 years? We do represent the county in bankruptcy cases that are filed having to do with property taxes, Bankruptcy is not a significant issue at this point in time in Harrison County. I hope to be able to continue to report that. We are having a meeting, just a firm meeting on Thursday, and our bankruptcy attorney is going to be giving us some trend information and what she sees happening. And if something changes with that, then I will let you know, and I will let you know in the number that I give you in the next couple of weeks to help with budgeting. Speaking of excess proceeds, when a property sells at a tax sale and it brings in more than the required minimum bid under the law, that money is excess proceeds and it gets deposited into the registry of the court. The property owners have 2 years from the date of that tax sale to go in and make a claim and prove their entitlement to those excess proceeds. So that way, if somebody's losing property that they have equity in, then they have a right to go in and claim those funds from the court. Where they don't do that within the 2-year required time period, then the excess proceeds get distributed to the taxing entities participating in the judgment based on their total amounts that were owed at the time of judgment. When that money, when that 2-year period has expired, we go in and file a motion, and then the district clerk cuts checks to the various taxing entities. You'll see that over the last 4 years, there's over $237,000 in excess proceeds that has come to the county as a result of individuals not claiming their excess proceeds. That's just the county's portion. That doesn't include the portion that goes to the city and the school. And you'll see that there has been an increase over the last few years. 2025 so far, almost $80,000 in excess proceeds has come to the county. And if you review those summary emails that I send after the tax sales, you'll see that every tax sale we're having excess proceeds deposited into the registry of the court. I believe one of the sales we had, I don't remember which one it was, but there was over $500,000 in excess proceeds that was deposited into the registry of the court. And so that is one other thing that we're seeing as a result of the online sales, is people are bidding more than what they have in the past. And there's just more competitive bidding all the way around. And we have actual bidders that have been bidding with us for a long time that come into my office and tell me, you know, I sure wish you'd go back to in person, because it seems like I pay a whole lot more for them now than I did when you were doing it in person. So but there's a potential for the counties to recover that excess proceeds if it's not claimed after 2 years. And that money doesn't get applied to any account. It doesn't go to M&O. It doesn't go to INS. It's just money that goes into your general fund that then you all can spend however you deem necessary.
Very good. Any other questions for Ms. Ball? Thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it.
That brings us to our last item. Is there any motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Hatfield, second by Mr. Coos. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes 5-0. We're adjourned. It's 10.